one thing that you notice in life, a lot of people have complaints about a lot of things. We're happy it's football season, and I enjoy watching games. It just would be better if it could be one game at a time. And I'd like to think ESPN will challenge itself to come up with better ways to prevent the overlapping doubleheaders. There weren't a lot of the look-ins. They used to do that. And one thing that you would learn is that when they would do the look-in, that would be ahead of the actual game feed you were watching. So I think they've realized, let's not do that, because for some users, it screws up the experience because they've got two screens. They're watching both games, and all of a sudden they're watching one game and two games, and the split screen is faster than that. The one piece of constructive criticism I would give to ESPN and ABC, and whichever of the family of networks had the games on last night, you don't need to put the score of the other game on the game that you're broadcasting, because if anybody wants to know, they can check. Because there are people out there who are going to try to replicate the true consecutive doubleheader, and they want to watch all of one game before they watch any of the second game. You ruin that for them. So I think that, in this age of choice, broadcasters should be sensitive to the choices that some consumers will make. You ruin any opportunity for someone to hold one game while they watch the first game. So that would be my one piece of advice, if they insist on doing it. And I think part of it is, Devin, if you have two games, there's a chance one of them is going to end up being pretty good. Both didn't work last night, but I think that's the idea. And then it's a network thing. Jack up the audience. The NFL likes it if it jacks up the audience. That's what the game's all about. It's about being able to publish the biggest possible numbers so the networks can thump their chests about how great it's doing, and then the NFL can put its thumb on the scale about how much more money they want during the next negotiations. That's all it is. And we, the consumer, is stuck in the middle of that.
Yeah, I will say the hard thing, one of my buddies texted me last night. He's not a big football fan, but he's a social guy, so he likes being out to watch the Monday night games. And he was like, man, what a bad night for football. And just talking about overall the games and the quality of the game. And I think that's the hardest part of this. Like that early game that starts, there's an excitement because, for one, you got to pay attention to the time. It's like 7 o'clock. You're like, oh, the game starts at 7 tonight. I got to get home and watch it. And then you turn it on. And it just wasn't like Miami had a good opening drive, and then the Jets are driving, then there's a fumble, and then the game turns into, there's some splash plays in there, but overall it just feels like, man, this is bad football. This is not good football where you sign up and you think you're going to see these two teams battle it out. And, I think it was all recapped and told when Aaron Glenn said, we can't win until we understand how to not lose. And that's what the Jets were. It was just like, we're going to be the better team to lose tonight. We're going to keep figuring out ways to lose, and then it'll help you, Miami, to go win the game. And it's just not – it wasn't as exciting of a game, which made it easier to start to focus on the other game that came on once the Denver-Cincinnati game started. Not that ended up being a barn burner either, but it allowed you to focus on that game because it was just starting, and then you're going to see how that was going to play out.
But then you create this dilemma for the folks who are watching at home, the people who have two screens. True. And in this day and age, most people do, I would think, because TVs are cheaper than they've ever been. There were a lot of things I expected the future to look like when I was a kid in the 70s. I'm still waiting for the flying cars, although based upon the technology we've seen for the self-driving cars, I'm not so sure flying cars are the way to go. I never would have dreamed that you'd be able to get this futuristic flat screen TV at the local big box retailer for like $99. Like anybody that wants multiple TVs can afford multiple TVs. You can have a wall of TVs. And my son and I were watching the games down in our barn. And part of your dilemma now is which one's on the main TV with the audio. So then you got to do the whole thing with the smart TV. How do you get from one game to another? Because it's not like the old days when you just press a button and you get the other channel. So you got to go through that. I wish, and I'm speaking here as an advocate for the fan and the consumer. I wish we, as an industry, NBC included, would think more about the consumer and what the consumer experience is. You mentioned routine. People are creatures of habit. I know I am. Monday night should feel special. And one reason Monday night feels special is the game starts at the same time every week. And you don't have to have this extra little thing in your head on the toughest day of the week. Oh, I got to accelerate my night by an hour. I got to go pick up dinner an hour earlier. I got to be in my spot to watch the game an hour earlier. I mean, my son walked in, boom, just as the game's starting, and we had to hustle to get there. And I'm sure others went through that same thing because, like you said, everything. It's so can we just at least factor the consumer into this equation? And the one thing that tells me they don't is the idea that they feel compelled to put the score of the other game on the broadcast of one game. And I don't understand it. My son said, what do they want people to do? Change the channel or not change the channel? Like, what's the point of telling people the score of the other game when they can check it whenever they want?
It's so true. Pull it out on your phone. Do whatever you want. But, I mean, it's like you said, this is a factory. It's a business that has operated at a high level, no matter really what some of those decisions are originally made. It's like we will self-correct ourselves and we'll figure it out. But as long as these numbers stay up, we're going to keep doing it. And again, and it shows, I think, even for Monday night, because it's like sometimes no matter the game, it still gets the viewership, even though some people are like, I don't really want to watch that game. You're going to sit down and watch the game. But I think that's how all of this turns out. Like, there's never going to be a time where the fan/consumer is going to be priority number one and how this plays out. And I think everyone sees that, and you see all the people complain about the streaming services and I have no idea where to find the game. Like, all of that stuff was so big, and year by year, it'll just go lower and lower. You won't hear those voices because streaming will get bigger and people will still want to consume the NFL. And the NFL knows that. It's no different from being a player inside of that and discussing all these different things, 17 games, 18 games. Well, should it be all grass? How do we fix the turf here? Like, all of these conversations continue to come up. But until there's a reason not to watch the game and not to tune into the NFL, it all seems like those voices get lower and lower as you get more removed until another injury pops up on the turf or somebody complains about a new streaming service that pops up. So it's a very interesting thing, and it's like in our minds, you just said when you were back in the 70s and you envision the future, it's like, well, what is the end? When does this stop? What is like this dramatic event that happens that makes the consumer/fan voice more heard and makes something change? I don't know when that comes up. I wonder if it'll ever come up.
You know, you're right. The numbers for last night will still be good. And that'll happen in part because the PR people at the various networks will massage the numbers, not falsely, but it's all a matter of spinning something positive out of the numbers. Like, for example, the Amazon numbers for last week were down double-digit percents over the week 4 Thursday night game the year earlier, because the year earlier it was Cowboys-Giants. So they're seeing growth every week. So the press release is up over comparable week, up over comparable week. And now it's like, gee, what do we say? We're not up, we're down, we're way down. So up year over year. And I mean, so whatever is, and I'm not being critical, that's just the way the game's played. NBC does it too. But whatever the press release is that we'll see at some point, ESPN, ABC, it's usually late afternoon, early evening on Tuesday, they'll find a way to fashion it into a win. The one piece of good news is, and then we'll get to the games, the one piece of good news, when they did the consecutive doubleheader earlier this year, it performed better than the overlapping doubleheaders did last year. And if the numbers for last night's overlapping doubleheaders weren't great, maybe they will. And I'm sorry, but you're young enough. You can stay up till 1. I'll stay up till 1. I'd rather, if they insist on doing 2 games, I'd much rather finish one, start the next one. Give me 2 games to watch undistracted. The only problem, though, is it still starts early, but I'll take it. If you insist on doing 2, let me watch 1 game at a time.